Hey everyone, and welcome to Screams After Midnight. I am Peter. That is Tim. Happy Valentine's Day. Now, admittedly, if you're watching this early on Patreon, it's a week before Valentine's Day. But for everyone else who watches it when it goes live on YouTube, it's Valentine's Day. If you happen to be watching it the day it goes up. So really, the Happy Valentine's Day thing is basically for like a small sect of people who happen to watch it on day one. Anyway, we watch horror movies. And we talk about them, and we do this. We're recording this right after the Winchester review, so if you saw that, you'll know that we're already in a weird state because we spent so much time in that tangent. But last year we did My Bloody Valentine, the original, and it was tempting to do the remake, but I thought, nah, we'll leave that. So our Valentine's movie this year is a 2001 film called Valentine. So we will start spoiler free. We'll give you a warning before we go into spoilers, and that's what we're going to do. Tim, I want you to know that I appreciate you.
Oh, thank you.
I was going to get you a card, but then I thought, nah.
Okay. Yeah, I guess you're not always the worst.
You're too sweet, Sam. That may be the nicest thing you've ever said to me. So, what is Valentine? Valentine, of course, is a kind of a slasher movie. I say kind of, well, more on that later. 2001, Jamie Blanks directed it, whose most notable credit before this was he was the director of Urban Legend, which came out a few years before this, which was, one of those post-Scream taking advantage of the new 90s slasher boom. And this is kind of following that wave as well, where we're still kind of, just basically making these movies because Scream was a big hit. And it stars Denise Richards, who's probably the biggest star in the movie from a time period, so that dates it quite accurately to this little section of time. David Boreanaz is in it, who of course played Angel on the hit television show Buffy the Vampire Slayer. Hey, the movie even references it, so you know what? I'm doing it. Okay. And then you have a bunch of other actresses. Katherine Heigl's in it, actually, who's relatively well known. She has, we're not in spoilers yet, but I feel like it's the opening bit of the movie, so I think it's fair to just say she's the Drew Barrymore of the movie. If you've seen Scream, you know what I mean by that. And then, they're coming for Tim. Tim, they found you. I don't know how, but they found you. That was a Back to the Future reference for anyone who didn't get what I was doing there. So, and then you've got a few other actresses who are the makeup, because the whole idea is that there's a group of friends. So they were all friends in middle school, and then these five women are still friends in their 20s, and a kid that they all refused at the dance in middle school might be coming after them. It's hitting Valentine's Day, and they're all getting Valentine's cards. Although it's worth mentioning, I'm not sure what the time period of the movie is, because the first kill definitely happens before Valentine's Day. I don't know if the rest of the film takes place in one day. I think it's at least two. So I think the first kill's 2 days before Valentine's Day, which is kind of weird, but whatever. Do what you will. But anyway, so that's the plot. So we've got the killer wears like a sort of cherub, mask, Cupid kind of thing, and it leaves Valentine's cards with really. Honestly, my favorite thing of this movie is the Valentine's cards.
Those are great.
Yeah, roses are red, violets are blue, and you'll need dental records to identify you. That's just gold.
Yeah.
But that's basically the movie. He hunts down killers. It's a bit of a murder mystery because we're like, who's the killer? We've not seen this kid in 10, 15 years. What does he look like now? Who knows? But that's the movie. So Tim, I guess I'll ask the question. Did you like Valentine? Oh, actually, first, had you seen this before?
I have, yeah.
Yeah, I saw it back when it came out as well. But hey, so did you enjoy it? Did you enjoy Valentine?
I think I saw this in the theater. I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure I did. And I want to say at that time, I was like, very snobby and like, ugh, this is just awful. This is dumb, lowbrow, cliche trash or whatever. Watching it now, though, it's definitely not a good movie, but I kind of had a little bit of fun with it. Like, it's a very stupid, by the book, 90s post-Scream slasher, but like I don't know, maybe it's
from 2001, just to point that out.
yeah, but it's still, it feels so 90s.
Yeah, it's on that cusp where it's
Yeah.
like that transitional period right at the start of the decade. Yeah.
What did I say before when I talked about it before? Is like the most 90s movie a 2000 movie could make or something like that.
Yeah.
But no, it's like actually had fun with it in a dumb kind of cheesy way. Like it's not that great or anything, but I kind of laughed at times. I don't know if you're really supposed to, but it's kind of ridiculous, but in a fun, stupid way.
That was more positive than I was expecting, Tim. What's funny is I have a completely different experience, and I guess this is just the what 3 years or whatever it is age difference, where I was a bit younger at the time.
Mhm.
I wasn't necessarily snobby about it, but I remember just watching it because it was a horror movie. Like at the time, maybe I had no taste.
Right.
You know, I was still developing my palate, and I have a weird bit of nostalgia attached to it though. And I was a Buffy and Angel fan at the time as well, so like seeing David Boreanaz was like kind of part of the weird appeal.
Yeah.
But the bit of nostalgia I have attached to this is nothing really to do with the movie itself, but it was like one of the first DVDs I rented, and I remember playing with the chapter select because it was like a new thing at the time, and
It's a special feature.
yeah, there's a moment in it where one of the scenes starts with the car going towards the sort of like small mansion. And like I remember that being the start of a chapter on the DVD, so I know that's a weird memory to bring up. And I remember watching the extras, which on that disc were I had like a 5 minute thing, a trailer, a music video, and then a commentary track. But I remember listening to the commentary track.
Interactive menus.
Yeah, I remember when DVDs used to say that special features, especially when that was all they had. It was interactive menus, scene select, and theatrical trailer.
And you're like, whoa.
Yeah, but no, I had a commentary. I remember, like, back when I had time to listen to commentary tracks, I would not only listen to commentary tracks from good directors, I would listen to all the commentary tracks, including ones like this. I'd actually almost be fascinated to go back and listen to it again and see like how pretentious the director's like. Does he talk about this like he's making some grand, masterpiece? He's like, this is my art. This scene here represents my childhood. Yes.
That'd be pathetic because that'd probably mean that he was like the kid at the beginning.
Oh. So, and then also on top of that, like I was like 12 at the time, so I'm not gonna lie, Denise Richards, at 12 years old was me at 12 years old, not Denise Richards at 12 years old. Just to clarify that statement, was part of the appeal.
Sure.
But watching it now, like all this time later. It is definitely a bad movie. Like, there's no getting around that.
Yeah.
There's a few things I chuckle at. I think you like it more than I do, oddly enough. There's a few things I kind of like about it, but for the most part, it's just really, really bad. Do you know what the most annoying thing actually about this whole movie is? It's the way they keep shoehorning the word Valentine into the dialogue.
Oh, sure.
Like, does someone want to be my Valentine? And then another scene. What? So does this mean you're not going to be my Valentine? No one says Valentine as much as these people do. It's insane.
I think that's what's kind of like so funny about it. Like, again, like, it's not like really intentionally funny or anything, but it's one of those things where it's like kind of, so bad that I'm laughing at it. But like, I think like all the characters in it are very over the top. There's like so many dumb, like bad dates and stuff that like they go on and talk about. I don't know. I couldn't help but like laugh at a lot of it.
Yeah, the characters aren't very likable actually. Like I think every character in it is
Sure.
awful in some way. Like
I mean, yeah, like the introduction of these characters is like them as kids rejecting a boy who asks them to dance.
Yeah, and the worst way, except for the lead, of course, the final girl is nice about it and says, "Oh, maybe later, Jeremy."
Yeah,
and it's like, okay, maybe later. That doesn't mean that means never, kid. Like read the signals. But the characters are pretty shallow and vapid for the most of the movie. All of them have plots that are really obvious where they're going, especially the one Dorothy, who was the fat kid, but is now not fat anymore. But she's like kind of rich. It's her mansion. They all have a party in later on, and she like.
If you don't first of all, when they show her in the flashback, she's like not fat at all. But like that won't stop her from mentioning that like every couple of scenes. She'd be like, "You don't understand what it was like growing up as the fat girl," and like, "Hey, I'm not the fat girl anymore," and like,
Yeah, I mean she's bigger than the other girls, but it's not like it's like vapid 101. This, you can tell. I feel like this movie was. Do you know what? I'm looking at the writers. By the way, there's 4 writers on this movie, if you can believe that.
oh,
Right?
more writers the better.
But 2 of them are women, and I'm shocked actually, because this feels like a movie that was written by a man who thinks he knows what women talk about and how they converse about things, and he just doesn't understand it at all. That's what it feels like, because they're all kind of awful, and they all obsess about weird things. And
what's kind of funny is like, yeah, I could see like the women being written by men, but I could kind of see the men being written by women, because the men are also like over the top douchebags.
oh
like,
sure, yeah.
Like,
My
I could
favorite
definitely see like them bringing like, having these awful dates in real life and kind of bringing that experience to the screen.
Yeah, because they go speed dating at one point. The opening date that Katherine Heigl's on's with this guy Jason, who refers to himself in the third person and is like the most douchiest of douchiest ever. And when she basically tries to get out the date as quickly as possible, he then makes her split the check.
Yeah, I gotta admit, I kind of laughed at that part. I thought it was like funny, like, she gets up to leave and then he looks at the check and he's like, "Ooh, okay, so you had the lobster and the wine."
I'm like, classy, man, classy.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like, kind of dumbing over the top, but it's like, oh, it's kind of funny.
Nah, my favorite by far is the neighbor, the creepy neighbor, Gary, because he does this thing where he rhymes. So Kate comes out at one point and she's in her tubble because the waters went off, and she's like looking for the superintendent or whatever, and he just comes out of his door and he's like, "Hey Kate, we should go on a date, Kate. You could be my mate, Kate. I think it's fake, Kate." And then she's like, "You're scary, Gary." Or Scary Gary. Well, she makes it rhyme. It sounds quite good though, because it sounds like she's responding to him in a rhyme. But he's pretty.
It's kind of like a weird, offbeat, like funny joke.
Well, he's funny until you catch him later on, like stealing her underwear, and then it's not so funny anymore. Then it's just kind of like proper creepy.
It goes full on creep. Yeah.
The kills are all pretty shit. I mean, I don't know if it actually was PG-13, but it feels PG-13ified in the kills.
Yeah.
So yeah, the kills aren't particularly great. When it's what I thought is funny is that early on it feels like it's trying to like do like a Michael Myers Halloween kind of rip off. Where you've got the tall guy in the mask, like walking down the hall, and it's just doing the over the top music. But the end of the movie, though, it goes in so heavy in the murder mystery thing, like who is the killer, that you don't really get a lot of that for all the final kills. He just kind of like jumps out, and there's a lot of not masked stuff going on, and it just kind of drops any sort of like style that it was attempting to have, which I thought was kind of weird.
Yeah.
But
they don't really wrap up the mystery in a very satisfying way.
No, it ends with a really sort of damp squib. Yeah. I feel like nothing in the movie's that good. Like there's no standout scenes where I go, oh, that's that's where it went downhill. No, it was just kind of level mediocre the whole time. Levelly, I don't know where I came up with that, but it was just like it was this baseline, just mediocrity to bad the whole time.
I won't talk about the scene too much, because of spoilers, but I kind of like the hot tub scene. I thought that was kind of fun.
Yeah, it was okay.
At least relatively compared to like the other, I guess chase scenes or killer scenes or whatever are.
There's times where like a throat will be slit, but they'll cut away so you don't actually see any of it. Yeah. It almost feels like the killer's looking for random people to kill for the first half of the movie, because we can't kill any of the main girls until we get to the second half, and
that's true.
we get into that. So we get some random people who are basically just introduced, which I mean that's not a real complaint, because slasher movies have tons of people that are just there to die. But yeah, it's just a really bland early 2000s movie to me. I don't know. There's not a whole lot going for it. So, some of the awful date stuff is probably the funniest. The weird neighbors kind of funny, and he's one scene that's funny, but that's basically it.
I don't know. Maybe it might be nostalgia a little bit, but like I don't know. I didn't mind this movie. It's again, it's definitely not good for sure, but
I think it's really like, because you have this opening scene, which is this like dance when they're in middle school, and this like the main theme's playing this little sweet like sort of bittersweet romance music's playing as he's getting turned down, and it feels very kind of like on the nose. Like there's no subtlety or nuance to
Yeah.
anything. I don't know. It feels exactly the sort of movie that was made after not only Scream, but like I Know What You Did Last Summer. Like I feel like I'm getting more I Know What You Did Last Summer than I am.
100%. Yeah. Even
Yeah.
even down to the let's get a star from Buffy to be in this.
That's true. Yeah. This is the angel to I Know What You Did Last Summer's Buffy. Yes. Oh dear.
Mm.
All right, we'll get a spoiler warning just so we can talk
Yeah.
freely then about everything and whatnot. If there's anything you want to spoil. Did you like the running plot where the middle-aged detective is clearly got the hots for Denise Richards and he's just staring at her all the time and there's a lot of weird sexual tension. Well, kind of. He thinks there's sexual tension. She's just kind of
Well,
like looking back at him like, yeah, you want me, but you're not getting me.
I mean, I don't know. Maybe I wasn't paying close enough attention, but at first I thought she was kind of flirting with him. But then it seemed to like jump way over into like creep territory when he started touching her leg, and she's like, "Get away from me." Uh, but I mean, up until then, I thought they did have a little bit of a flirty thing going on.
To me, it played like she could just tell he was into her, so she was just kind of like giving him glances to say, really, this guy's saying this or he's doing that or he's trying to impress me or whatever.
I might not like pay close enough attention, but that I can see that. Yeah.
Not paying close enough attention to Valentine. What else were you doing with your attention, Tim?
I may have been looking at my phone every now and again, but but yeah, the cop ended up being a douchebag.
Also
Like,
a worthless character. We don't even see how he dies. We just get his head popping up in the pool. It's a really bad looking fake head as well, might I add.
Yeah, that pretty much went nowhere. Yeah, I think I feel like this must be PG-13 because some of the kills might not be that bad if they did actually like show like more gore or something.
I agree,
Like
yeah, because there's one where it's the head's gone onto the broken glass.
yeah,
The
when he's
shower.
pushing that head down, like that could have looked really cool, but yeah, like you see him pushing it down, but you don't really see anything actually going in or any blood coming out or anything.
Yeah, because it's actually the woman who dies there. That's the so fat girl, and I'm using that with air quotes. Fat girl.
I think her name was Dorothy.
Yeah, there you go, Dorothy. She's her new boyfriend is clearly just a scam artist who's trying to get her money, and this other woman shows up, a former rich victim, to like warn her. But basically, she's really like bratty about it, and Dorothy's like complete idiot. She's very blind to it. She just keeps defending him. But she goes like hunting for stolen jewelry and ends up getting killed, and she ends up getting her head like the shower glass gets broken, and then he forces her head down onto it. But you don't really, I mean, you see it go onto the glass, but it's shot in such a way where you don't really see the actual impalement or any blood squirting out. Yeah. Denise Richards gets a jacuzzi death scene where the cover's put on and the killer starts putting the drill through the top.
And I thought that was like actually, yeah, like that kind of got my attention. Like this is kind of tense.
It was okay. I mean, David Boreanaz character, right? So he's the main girl's boyfriend. The main girl, by the way, who has by far the least chemistry, or the least not chemistry, sorry, the least charisma of any of the main cast. She is a blank towel.
I would say, I like David Boreanaz. I think he's a good actor, and I think like Denise Richards isn't bad, but like the rest of the girls, especially I guess the main girl like wasn't horrible, but the Dorothy, what I thought she was like really bad her acting.
Dorothy, yeah. I mean, the actors not really that great across the board because I think David Boreanaz is as good as Angel, right? But I don't necessarily think he's this great. I've never really watched Bones, so I can't really comment on his skills in that.
I feel like I like him, but I also feel like maybe he doesn't have a ton of range. Like I mean, maybe he could prove me wrong, but I feel like I don't really see him in. Well, I can't imagine seeing him in much else.
He's supposed to be an alcoholic in this movie. He keeps trying to like say to what's her face, Lily's. I mean, is it Lily? I guess it is.
Sure.
No, it's Kate. Sorry, that's Kate. Sorry, because obviously, yeah, great. We're going to date Kate. Of course, it's Kate.
Right.
Lily's the one who gets it with the arrows in the art gallery.
Oh, right. She has a pretentious art boyfriend.
Yeah. Kate is like, so she's trying to win her back, and he keeps like, oh, I've changed. I'm not drinking. I've not drank anything in 3 weeks. And then when they're at this party, like they've literally just been making up, and she like gave him like for Valentine's Day, she gave him like a little IOU TLC bit of paper. So it was basically like, here's a free sex token. Use this when you're in the mood, right? And but no, it's just all jokey, and he's flirting, and like, oh yeah, I'm using this, I'm cashing this in, and they're all happy. And then we see other things at the party. We see, Denise Richards like meets this guy from speed dating, and like he's a bit of a douchebag, so she pours hot wax on him and hurts him, and it's all a thing.
Oh yeah, she pours like hot wax on his dick.
I agree he was an asshole, but I feel like that would disfigure his dick.
Yeah, like that's like, oof, ouch.
Yeah. Just tying him on the bed and leaving him there naked for people to find him. I feel like that's punishment enough, probably. I don't know.
Definitely.
But I mean, he's a douchebag. Don't get me wrong. But so we see other things, and then we come back to Kate, and she finds it's Adam's his character's name. David Boreanaz, Adam. She finds him, and he's drunk. And this is the thing: we've seen nothing between the scene where they were really happy and like flirting and joking about, oh, let's go and have sex later, right? And he's just drunk for no reason. There's no trigger. There's nothing to suggest what made him like. There's not even a scene of him like looking at the bottle and going, you know what, like, or being tempted, or never mind anything that's like bad that like sort of pushes him towards it or anything like that. She goes away. There's other things happen. She comes back. Oh no, he's drunk. It just happens because it wants to happen. And then of course she thinks he's the killer for a little bit, and he chases her around. And this is the thing. He chases her like a madman throughout the house, and then we have the reveal, the fake reveal, of course, that the killer the whole time is Dorothy, because she just kind of jumps out with the mask on, she falls down the stairs, Adam shoots her, they pull off the mask, and it's Dorothy. And then the end of the movie is Adam and Kate, and she's like, oh, I'm so sorry I treated you like that, I thought you were the killer, and he's like, it's okay. And the movie ends, he's phoned the police, and he's hugging her. And the one tell sign the killer's had the whole movie is that he has nosebleeds, because little Jeremy had nosebleeds in the flashback, and the movie ends with him having a nosebleed. So it implies that he was the killer the whole time. He just dressed Dorothy up in the outfit, and is now like gotten away with it. And maybe the reason why he's not killing Kate is because she's the one who, said, oh, maybe later in the flashback.
Yeah.
She didn't turn them down as much. Which, by the way, it's worth mentioning that the reason why it got so bad in the flashback is because Dorothy, again, thinking she's fat, is like, you know what? Okay, let's make out behind the bleachers, and they're making out.
It escalates like pretty quick to like no one wants to dance with them. Finally, this one girl dances with them, and they could have just had a nice dance, but like it all of a sudden it goes from like, okay, no one will dance with him to now he's making out with someone under the bleachers. It's like, whoa.
Yeah, I think the point of that is that she didn't want to be seen to be dancing with them, so she just wanted to make out behind the bleachers because she liked the attention. But then the bullies like come up and see them, and she like says, no, he forced himself on me. So she's falsely accused him of sexual assault. So then they pour punch over him, strip him down to his underwear, and laugh at him and kick him, and it's just all it's all, and like,
where are the adults in this situation?
I know, and then we find out later that Jeremy went to like like mental hospitals while he was a kid, and he went through all this stuff, and like they find all this out from the detective, and like Denise Richards and the main girl Kate are like, man, this is really bad, and like Dorothy looks really like guilty about it. It's like, hey, but it's not your fault. He attacked you when you were a kid, and she doesn't say anything. It's like, he did attack you, right? That line of dialogue was awful, by the way, might add.
It's so crazy that like they didn't think to question her until now. Like when that one little moment of silence was all of a sudden they were like, hey, wait a minute, like I guess we never thought about it, but he did attack you, right?
Yeah, it was just weird to question it now after all this time, yeah. And
now let's real quick. I mean, we cannot skip over the like, I guess what you would call it, facial software scene. Where...
Oh yeah. Oh, so all the cards are all initial JM, and they eventually get to Jeremy Morgan, right? Who they know from middle school, but they've not seen him since. And the detective has a photograph of him from middle school. We don't have any recent photographs, and he has this fantastic software that takes away his glasses and ages him up a little bit. And they're like, "Have you seen anyone who looks like this?" And like, he'll have a different haircut, and then he'll add a beard, and then he'll add like other things. Maybe with different eye colors, and he goes through all these things.
But it's so funny because, it has like nothing to do with like him being a good cop or anything. It's totally just him, like, he looks like he's trying to impress these people with his like new toy. He's like, and I don't know if that's like supposed to be his character or if the movie itself like was like, oh man, look at how advanced we are. Like, it definitely feels like someone just wanted to show this off and be like, look what we can do.
And it's
so, like, all it is
yeah, it's such garbage. It's literally just holding it's basically drawing a mustache onto a picture. It's basically the tech that we've got here.
It's like if you have like, when you had like old school computers and you would make something in like Paint, and then you would have like a blank space and you would just like fill it in with different colors. Like, this is what he'd look like with red hair. This is what he'd look like with brown hair.
Also, typically you don't want to make your main final girl look an idiot. And in this scene, they're looking at like various things of like different hair and different facial hair and all the rest of it. And then she just comes out with, "Do you have a more recent photograph of him?" And the detective just turns around and goes, and I'm on his side. He's a creep, but I'm on his side for this moment because he's like, "Don't you think if we did, we'd be looking at that one instead?" And I'm like, don't make your main girl sound this stupid. What? Oh.
At some points, it feels like characters have forgotten that like people have been dying. Like they're just kind of treated very like nonchalantly, and it's like, yeah, you do realize like there's this person that's trying to murder you guys, right?
Yeah, that's actually a really good point. There's no ramp up attention, not really. Like, Katherine Heigl's character dies first, of course. They go to her funeral, and it seems disconnected, but then they start getting Valentines. And then the weird thing is, though, is that they don't really know anyone else has died until like near the end of the movie, because like, the neighbor gets killed. It's all hidden. The who else gets killed? Like a maid gets killed or something. It's it's all hidden. They introduce that Dorothy's got this new stepmom who's like basically her age or younger, and she calls her the mail order bride from hell. But you never see her dad or her again ever in the rest of the movie. They're just gone.
Yeah, and you think it would be enough just having one of their friends die, and then the fact that they've been getting threatening Valentines to maybe give them like 24/7 police escorts at least for the time being.
But that's the thing, they don't even act scared or act like there's anything going on. It's just
someone sent them like chocolates filled with maggots.
And one of the girls does die. Lily dies, as we said at the art gallery thing. But she was going on a trip the next morning, so they all just think she's away to like I think it was LA. Like she's away to LA for work. So they don't know she's dead, and because of that, no one's scared at all until like. Most of the people die without realizing that they're in like fear of death. It's not really until the final girl that she knows people are dead and she's like running from a killer. Like, it's really weird. Like, there's no build up attention at all. It just all starts to go down like towards the end. It's just I don't know, because they're just casually sitting around in the house like eating cereal and stuff and like talking to the cop on the phone and like making jokes and in fact at one point Lily even like starts doing impressions of Jeremy Morgan when she remembers him. She's like doing buck teeth impressions, and I'm like, oh yeah, super likable.
Yeah,
I want these characters to survive. They're all just kind of vapid, and then the male characters are obviously all awful and sleazy, and then David Boreanaz's character is just this really poorly written alcoholic thing, and then when you find out he's really the killer, like, was the alcoholic thing an act? Like, did he really get drunk and like cause trouble, and that's why they were kind of half split up? And
what was her problem with the alcoholism? Because like when he does we see him get drunk that one time, it doesn't seem like he's doing anything crazy. I think she says like you're a different person when you drink or something, but we don't really see any evidence of that.
Well, I just want to point out the phrase "what's wrong with alcoholism." That's what you just said. Alcoholism is generally a bad thing to.
Right, but I mean, we never like see him like. There's a one time like we see him like he's had a few drinks, but again, he's not really doing anything to make us seem that he's, an alcoholic versus just a casual drinker or whatever.
Like you don't have to necessarily show it if you want to set up a character who's just a recovering alcoholic, right? If that's just part of the character, that's fine. But the fact that their entire relationship hinges upon it, and that we do actually see him drunk, and he just seems like kind of drunk. He doesn't really seem like. I mean, arguably, I suppose you could say that when he starts chasing her around the house like an absolute maniac,
Oh, sure.
is maybe drunk. But now she's got it in the context that he's maybe the killer. Because how does he explain that afterwards? Like, because she thinks Dorothy was the killer, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then, like, but think back, like 2 minutes ago, he was chasing you around the house like a madman.
Yeah, I don't know.
And here's my problem with that as well, right? So he's the really obvious suspect the entire movie because he's the man with the most screen time. We do have the guy who's leeching off of Dorothy, who's trying to steal her dad's money, right? But David Boreanaz is clearly the prime suspect all movie because he's the one guy we've spent this much time on. And then it appears that he's the killer and he's chasing her around the house while he's drunk because she suspects him. And obviously at this point, I think most people are going, well, it's obviously not him because this is too obvious, right? And then you get the Dorothy thing, and it's like, that feels kind of weird, doesn't feel quite right either. And then the final little twist at the end is, no, it's actually him. He's got the nosebleed, it's him, he's the killer. Here's my problem with this, right? If you're going to, like, he was so obviously the red herring that, like, we couldn't have thought he was the killer. He was so obviously going to be the red herring because it was too obvious, right? And I used obvious a lot in that sentence, I realise that. But when it turns it around and says, no, he is actually the killer, it doesn't work because this is the thing. If you're going to subvert our expectations, that only works if the subversion is more interesting than the regular thing, right?
Right.
As much as it's really obvious and boring that, oh, he looks like the killer, but then it turns out he's not, actually twisting it back round to say he is the killer is actually even more boring because he was just so, like, set up as the obvious suspect.
Yeah, I feel like they were trying to set up like other possible suspects throughout the movie, but no one survives long enough to like really make you feel like it could be them.
But this is the thing. All the guys die first. Other than Katherine Heigl, like you see James or Jason rather from the start of the movie. You see him at the art gallery, but you never see him again, so you don't really think it's him. The Campbell is probably the other most likely suspect, but he gets killed like before the party starts.
Yeah.
And then the neighbor gets killed way before that. All the guys who could be the suspect all get killed, so it has to be him. Which is why, okay, maybe you make it Dorothy. She couldn't deal with her past because she was, again, quote unquote fat, and she went nuts because she seems very needy. But again, twisting it back round so it is the obvious suspect is just really unsatisfying. I don't care. Like, it's just boring. And
now, was the movie like trying to say at all that, like, I don't know, maybe this is me like stretching things like way too much, but like,
oh, it is, I'm sure of it, but go on.
that that like they were like working together possibly, like I don't know, that like she, like they were both the killer, but then like, yeah, he's just the one that survives, or is it just supposed to be like, oh no, like she had nothing to do with it, he just dressed her up?
He just dressed her up and threw her out at her, I think that's the whole thing. Okay. Honestly, at the end though, here's the thing, I have no idea if he's going to kill Kate, or if he's just like, oh, happy the rest are all dead and he's with her, because she's the one who said, oh, maybe later, she was nicer to him. So he's keeping her alive, and now he'll be like the hero to her because he saved her, right? So I don't know if he's just wanting to live with her now, or if she's in danger at the end. Like, is he going to kill her too? I actually don't know.
If that's the case, that's a pretty dark ending.
It is. I don't know. They're both kind of dark, because she's going to live with this killer for the rest of her life and not know.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's the thing. Yeah, it's a bad movie. I mean, there's some mild enjoyment out of a couple of things, but it's a bad movie.
Yeah. I think, like, I don't know, I could see myself having fun, like, watching this with friends and stuff and kind of, joking around about it. But, like, it's not the best movie for that situation, but I think you can, like, there are definitely better bad movies to make fun of, but I don't know, I think there's still some mild enjoyment you can get out of it. Yeah, again, especially, I don't know, I feel like I don't watch like when I rewatch horror movies that I like, it was either more recent stuff or usually like stuff from the 80s. So every now and again, like, you know, when we do something from these that, you know, is kind of like from the late 90s or early 2000s, it is kind of like oh, I do get like a little nice nostalgic feeling for it.
My cat's licking his lips right into the microphone, so that may be picked up quite loudly. I don't know. Of course, the camera folk, the people watching the video version, are getting some nice cat ears right in their face right now. Hey, cat. Yeah. Yes. I mean, I guess we're done. I don't think I have much more to say. It's just a bland movie. I think the only charm it has is that it feels really like 2001. Like it feels so 2001, and not in a Space Odyssey kind of way. I mean, do you think Stanley Kubrick, had he lived to see it, would have been really disappointed that this is what 2001 actually brought us?
Probably wouldn't have been that excited.
Yeah. I just threw a cat across the room. Don't go with me. Don't worry, it was on the bed, and trust me, he's used to it by now. So I guess we're rating Valentine out. I mean, it's a really mediocre, bad, dated 2001 movie. That's basically it. We're gonna date Kate. It could be our fake Kate. I guess the one thing I'll wrap up with, actually, I should mention the awkward reference to Angel, because
Oh yeah,
there's a little line of dialogue that's put in there just as a wink, wink, nudge, nudge, because David Boreanaz, of course, plays Angel, where Dorothy accuses him of being the killer. She's talking to Kate and she's like, "Hey, you know, it could be him. He could be the killer." And she turns around and goes, "David's no angel, but he's no killer."
That's a nice little nod.
I mean, I smile at it, but it's bad. It's bad. I mean, it's not the worst thing ever. It's just not good either. So, Tim, what would you rate Valentine out of 10?
I feel like I think I'm gonna give it a 3.5, but I don't know. I just like and don't feel like super negative about it. Like if maybe if the kills were a little better and maybe had some more gore or something, I could see this being like a, you know, a little bit of a better like cheesy bad movie to watch. But I mean, as it is, it has its moments. But yeah, it's not anything great.
I get you. Yeah, that sounds kind of about right. I think I'll go with a 4 actually. I think. Well, no. Yes, cat. You're right in my face right now. You know that, cat. Sniffing my beard. No. So, I don't want to just take your score though. No, I'll go with a 4. I feel like it's not complete garbage. It's just really in the middle and bland, and you know, the music's again, it's slightly over the top. It's not really good horror movie music, but you can see what it's trying to do. But there's some funny elements, and it's not the most offensively bad thing ever. So that's Valentine.
Yeah, watch it with some friends, get drunk, order pizza, and have some laughs. But you know, otherwise, it's there's not much reason to watch it.
Ah, dumb cat. All right, so I guess that wraps up Valentine. So of course, let us know what you think of the movie if you've seen it in the comments below. Like, subscribe, all that stuff. Get us on Twitters at mailed_fuzz for channel updates. If you want to support the channel, head over to patreon.com/mailedfuzztv. There's a link in the description. Of course, that gives you access to put movies into the crypt, which is the to-do list that our patrons can add to. Everyone can look at the list, though. You can go to the link in the description, and you can see all the movies that are in there, and every so often we'll pick one out. We'll probably do one soon, because it's been a little while, but we'll do one maybe before the end of the month, give or take. So go check out that. And of course the monthly vote as well. It's all Japanese horror movies in the vote this month for our patrons to vote on. So of course that you can go check out that. But otherwise that is us. So thank you once again for watching or listening. We always appreciate it. I can't speak. It's getting late. Keep watching scary movies, guys. We'll see you next time.